Yo, what up, Street Talks? Here, Kim. Alright, another thought. A life without difficulty and pain and suffering and tragedy is not a life worth living. So Nietzsche talks about this in The Birth of Tragedy, where he talks about that, tragedy ain't about, if you think about tragedy as an art form, it's not about like life is suck and it's all worthless. It's actually, it's the insanely most optimistic thought you could have is that in spite of all the pain, suffering, difficulty, injustice, blah blah, life is still beautiful and life is still worth it. So this is also like the beauty of like movies like Life is Beautiful, where it's the ultimate tragedy of the son, the father, the stuff like that, but as a consequence of all of it, it's great. Yo, check this out. For a sense of scale, this thing is hilarious. All right, anyways, so moving on. So a life without pain, tragedy is not a life worth it. So why is it that so much of us in life, we're so afraid of pain, tragedy, suffering, stuff like that? Maybe, okay, some thoughts. So obviously nobody likes pain, nobody likes suffering and mental anguish, and I've experienced a lot of that myself. But I don't know, maybe the problem is we just have like our the way we approach it and the way we think about it is kind of wrong. So I almost wonder if it's because modern society, we've learned to coddle our children and our peoples a little bit too much. Like, let me give you an example. So even in South Korea, you have to do mandatory military service. I know in Israel you have to do it, and I think in Israel even the men and women both have to do it. And so certainly our society is not as martial, or there's no mandatory military service if you're in the States or stuff like that, but certainly our society has gone a little bit soft. So our society has gone soft. Maybe it's because in today's world it's for the most part more peaceful. Like, we're not like the ancient Spartans who had to live constantly in a state of war, because now most people were in a period of peace. But certainly humanity, a world with too much peace is probably not a good one in terms of just us humans becoming soft. Certainly some sort of war is kind of a good thing. So now, I don't know, I feel like right now it's kind of an interesting time, because we're going through a metaphorical war, in the sense that the war that we're experiencing is a war against a hidden enemy, which is the virus. And so it's actually going to bring out the most resourcefulness in us. And I think it'll actually be a good thing, which is going to just strengthen us in humanity. And the thing also I like too is that we're not at war with other humans. We're not out trying to kill other peoples. We're just trying to kill and eradicate the virus. And so I feel like this martial mentality we got right now, who knows, it might actually be a good thing for humanity in the long run. And so this is also another thing I think about a lot too, is certainly it ain't just about our personal lives right now, because that's a little bit too short and too basic. I think maybe what it's about is, it's kind of more about thinking about humanity in the long term. And I think that's what philosophers, maybe to an extent sociologists have thought is, what should future humanity look like, and what aims should future humanity kind of aim towards, and what are noble goals and stuff like that. And so I feel like the strengthening of humanity is a good one. And I personally don't like people killing each other. That's just my personal ethics and morals. But who knows, maybe in order to strengthen humanity, we learn to become more resourceful, to become more scrappy, and we become less soft. And maybe ways we could do that is, you know, like some basic things like, I think we like to be conquerors and explorers. So to, you know, hopefully the future of space travel or even exploring the sea or exploring human knowledge, wisdom and stuff like that is useful. But it does seem though sometimes having some sort of common enemy, which is like right now the virus, is something that brings peoples together. And what is we to do, us as individuals? So I think the basic thing is not to be scared and not be afraid. It's so easy to let fear become our master. Rather, fear should be our slave, and we should enslave fear to our own personal benefits. And when we spend too much of our lives thinking about fear, it could actually hold us back and prevent us from becoming all that we can be, right? And if the goal is to become the most epic and grand individual as possible, then certainly staying at home and just reading fear feeds and fear porn and the news and social media is not a good thing. So essentially we got to know that we are fighters. We got to fight for what we believe in, and knowing that a life of difficulty, challenge, and hardship is actually probably the best life. Remember, you're stronger than you think you are.